of serving as the director of the Challenge 2050 project. This has been one of the greatest honors of my life because of the amazing students that I get to work with on a daily basis. They give me motivation, they teach me about the world, but more than that, they give me hope. The greatest challenge of our day is how to bring about the revolution of the heart. A revolution which has to start with each one of us. Social activist Dorothy Day said that. But the reality is that change does not occur without community. Tonight, we gather in this beautiful place to engage in that community. You'll see dynamic student speakers sharing their innovations aimed at world sustainability. You will celebrate the tremendous accomplishments in the areas of teaching, research, and practice of our award winners. And you will engage in community. But before we go any further, I want to introduce you to some very special people. Look to your left. Now I want you to look to your right. These are two very, very special people. And they create a foundation for change in our world. Introduce yourself to these people. Go ahead, we'll take a second. Thank you so much. We've started something real with those introductions. We've started to share in a community. A community that will hopefully create the foundation for world sustainability. Now, I also want to say thank you to a couple other people tonight, because these are the people who really make this event possible. And those are our sponsors. First, I'd like to thank H&M Clothes. So fantastic. I'd also like to thank C. Charles Jackson Foundation, amazing individuals. And finally, the Kern Family Foundation, really great people. They've generously given their time, perspectives, energy, and financial support to make this event something wonderful. Please join me in thanking them. Second, I would like to thank the tremendous planning committee for all their hours of work. Please, let's give them a round of applause. Their tireless support and positivity is without question the backbone of this event. Please join me in thanking everybody, not just those two groups who have played a role in this. Please. Now tonight, I also really want to say thank you to you. You've given altruistically of your time, your passion, and your enthusiasm, but also for the work that you do and you will continue to do. It will undoubtedly lead to a better world. Please give yourselves a round of applause. I'm so excited. This is what we've been waiting for. Now, it's time for OneWorld 2018. And to kick things off, please help me to welcome our MCs for this wonderful evening, the Challenge 2050 Project graduate assistants, Sonny St. Clair and Cameron Outlaw.
Thank you so much for being here for this spectacular night and these phenomenal people who will share their ideas, innovation, and deepest passions with you all. This event is about listening, learning, and giving recognition to the people paving the way for our future. When thinking about the extraordinary people who will stand on this stage tonight, I think of the anonymous quote, "I'm full of so many flowers, I fear no one will see them." Tonight, there is no fear because you will have the opportunity to see them blossom. Again, thank you all so much for being here tonight.
Here are some things that you can expect from us and the innovators that you will see tonight. You can expect to be entertained, educated, and excited about saving the world. What I hope to receive from you all is enthusiasm, critical thinking, and your undivided attention for the innovators on stage tonight. So thank you for being here tonight with us. I know it will not disappoint.
All right, moving forward, since the Challenge 2050 project's inception in 2013, we've had many incredible supporters, but I'm so excited to introduce this next person. As a founding supporter of the Challenge 2050 project, the company that she holds dear also holds a special place in our heart. Their partnership with the University of Florida and the Challenge 2050 project has led to countless opportunities for our students. From their support to our students' research initiatives at the American Seed Trade Association, to their assistance for the development of key industry-based competencies that guide our curricular efforts, to their role in the development of our UF and Sao Paulo study abroad program, to the countless internship opportunities that they share with our students. They have undoubtedly been a critical linchpin in the Challenge 2050 project, being named 2017 National Program of the Year by the Association of Leadership Educators. Please join me in welcoming the Senior Human Resources Manager from HM Close, Ms. Claudia Grumatassin.
Represent HM Close today. Such an avid supporter we have been of the Challenge 2050 project and the OneWorld event. For those of you who are not familiar with HM Close, we are a global vegetable seed company whose mission is to build trust with farmers, providing them quality and innovative vegetable seeds that meet their local needs. Our relationship with the University of Florida and the Challenge 2050 project has been a fruitful one. Pun intended. Our objective has been to foster relationships not just with young people, but with aspiring future leaders, encouraging them to consider a career in agriculture as an industry to bring their problem-solving capabilities, their passions, and their talents to. Our industry is facing a talent shortage, and not a lot of young people are considering a career in agriculture. And as people retire, we have gaps that are difficult to fill. So those opportunities go to those who are willing to learn more, have an enthusiasm for our business, and are passionate about the role that they get to play in nourishing the world with quality vegetable seeds. Quick fact. Our average executive is 49 years old. That's 6 years below the industry average across all industries. And I was speaking to our VP of Latin American sales not too long ago, probably a few weeks ago, and he was introducing himself to a class of new employees at our new employee orientation. And we were playing an icebreaker game, I'm sure you're familiar with, 2 truths and a lie. And he had shared that there is a challenging event that's occurring in his life this year. And I immediately thought, well, it's got to be the fact that he's relocating his family from the U.S. to France to take on a promotion, the global VP of production role. Big deal, right? Nope. It was the fact that he was turning 40. So that being said, my personal mission is to get more dynamic young leaders to consider pursuing a career in agriculture, and perhaps maybe even come work for us. Many students are thinking about serious issues such as food security and how we will feed the population when we hit 9.6 billion. Challenge 2050 students aren't just thinking about it, they're doing something about it. I'm fortunate enough to bear witness to their amazing work, and I could not be more proud to see what they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Your support is so critical to what we do, and I cannot thank you enough for all you do for our students. A key hallmark of the work that we do is the tangible connection to the communities that we serve. Without question, our next speaker exudes a passion for this idea and a relentless desire to extend the work that we do within the university environment to the 67 counties that exist within the Sunshine State. His perspectives are critical, his work is necessary, and the relationships he establishes on a daily basis create opportunities for the sustainability of our most vulnerable populations across the state. Please join me in welcoming the Dean and Director of Extension for the UF Institute for Food and Agricultural Sciences, Dr. Nick Place.
Well, thank you. Who's that person you're talking about? But welcome, and it gives me a great pleasure to be here with you this evening. I don't know if many of you know, but I just drove in from Tallahassee. I just slipped in here a couple minutes ago. We had the opportunity to host a day at the Capitol, 4-H Day at the Capitol today. We had over 850 young people there at the Capitol, really talking about the things that we do through Extension, the Land-Grant University, and 4-H. And we also had an opportunity to have a half-an-hour meeting with the governor's staff. And I'll tell you what, I was so impressed with the young people that spoke to the governor's staff. It gives me great hope about the future of our world and our country. I'm here mainly just to do a welcome to all of you and remind you about what a great innovation we have called the Land-Grant University. This is something that started back in 1862 and was so innovative at that time about thinking about how do we really engage more of our public with higher education to go beyond just those that were involved in medicine and religion and arts and things like that, but focus on the needs that we have in agriculture, mechanical arts, and other kinds of things. And think about all that we have done over these last 155 years through our land-grant movement. I have the honor and privilege, or blessing, I like to say, of working each and every day to represent the outreach part of what we do as a land-grant university. And it's just incredible to see the connections that we're making across all 67 counties with farmers and policymakers, families, communities, and others that really need the help and support of the land-grant university. One of the things I really emphasize to my people day in and day out is our job in IFAS and IFAS Extension is to be working on vexing issues. I like that term because think about the things that we're dealing with today as a society. There's so many of these vexing, complex issues that are out there. As you think about our food system, health issues, opioids, civic engagement, and other things that really are at the core of issues and problems and concerns of people in this state. We have an opportunity to really focus on those in the research, the teaching, and the extension outreach mission as a land-grant university. In fact, we have a responsibility to address these kind of issues. As you think about one of the big issues that many of the people in this room are familiar with, and that is our food system. How are we going to feed that 9.6, or I hear 10 billion people by the time 2050 rolls around? And here in Florida alone, right now, we're pushing 22 million. We'll be about 30 million by that time. And as you think about that, there's a lot of challenges that come with that increasing population of rural-urban interface, water quality and quantity, pest and disease issues, regulations, and other things. The things just go on and on and on, just with this one vexing issue. So it's going to take a lot of smart young people really focused on this issue and others And we need a lot more young people, as you were mentioning, getting engaged in this, and not just in production, but in the science that goes into food production now and well into the future. So I applaud the work that you're doing through the Challenge 2050, and I look forward to hearing what we're going to hear today through these presentations. So thank you very much for being here, and go Gators.
All right. Before I can introduce you to the individuals of the Solution 6, I want to tell you about them as a collective. This interdisciplinary group of movers and shakers comes from all over the educational spectrum, and that is represented in their innovations today. What unites them is their shared passion for creating a world, a better world, through collaboration and commitment to change. This group of powerhouse individuals will lead us into a brighter future. Now, they were selected from a pool of over 60 applications, and that's because their passion was exuding for their passion to exude, developing sustainable solutions aimed at making our world a better place. Each of them will receive $500 for sharing their innovation on the stage tonight, and they are all eligible to receive $2,050 if they are named the winner of the 2018 OneWorld. That being said, to make that difficult distinction, I would like to introduce to all of us the illustrious panel of judges who will be evaluating each speaker on three things: the overall presentation, the feasibility of the innovation, and the critical nature of the problem they are addressing. So, our first is the Senior Human Resources Manager from HM Claus, the incredibly talented and ever-giving Claudia Germeshausen. Is the co-founder and managing director of the Florida Africa Foundation, the compassionate, the caring, the always inspirational Lori Spivey. Third is the Challenge 2050 Project faculty fellow and associate change agent for the program for resource-efficient communities, the passionate, the captivating, and always present Hal Mills. And finally, the Associate Professor of Leadership and faculty member within the Challenge 2050 Project, the often imitated but never duplicated Matt Sauchik. Please join me once again in thanking our Solution 6 team and the panel of judges for their contributions this evening. And so, the show is about to begin what you all came here for. I'm going to introduce you to our first Solution 6 member. He's a passionate young man, passionate about coffee, about music, and about saving the world. He is in his 4th year here at the University of Florida, studying political science and leadership. He is a natural change agent and a philosopher. And he believes that transformation starts within a person before it can move into the community surrounding that person. It is my privilege and honor to welcome to the stage Nick Martinez.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We've all heard these 3 words 1,000 times. Yet what if we applied this to something different, like plastic bottles? What if we applied this to clothes? Yes, clothes. We all wear them. We all love them. And we all get rid of them. But what if we lived in a world where clothes were never wasted? Clothing is essential to mankind. It's how I'm able to get up in front of you all here today and look like I know what I'm doing. We use clothing to address social situations, such as dress to impress, put on our thinking caps, and wear my heart on my sleeve. Yet one thing we often don't hear is what happens to our clothes after we outgrow them, and what happens to clothes after they're donated. Well, let me take you on a journey to find out. I believe our world faces what I like to call problem blindness. We only care about problems that we can see right in front of us. We all know that commercial that talks about malnutrition, that shows the little boy with the inflated belly that makes you reevaluate your own hunger. The sun in the arms of an angel, music playing in the background, we start to feel really depressed. Dragged down by those angel wings, we finally see this problem and are going to do something about it. But then the game comes back. On the Gators beating FSU by 20, we push that malnourished kid out of our minds. As sad as this might sound, it's a reality. It's our reality. This idea and phenomenon is crucial to understanding why I'm here tonight. As my speech may be a fleeting moment in time, I live my life by a simple quote from William Wilberforce. You may never choose to look the other way. You can never say again, they did not know. So how are clothes a part of this problem? This idea came to me many years ago as I was reflecting upon my time volunteering at a charity that specialized in clothes donations. That week I was in the back room sorting what seemed to be an endless amount of clothes, and I remember being so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of clothes in that room. And being from Florida, those were the tallest mountains I've ever seen in my life. But it wasn't the amount of clothes that threw me off. I remember it now. In the middle of my volunteering shift, I looked down at what my hands were doing, what I was doing. My job, my sole job was to determine what was kept, what was thrown away. If any clothes were tattered, ripped, torn, blemished, discolored, faded, they would be thrown out, no room for discussion. This memory haunted me as I found out more information on the scale of American textile waste and the notion that we could change this and reuse all of this clothing that otherwise takes up space in a landfill began to spark the beginnings of an invigorating adventure to uncover a hidden problem. Since then, I figured out where these clothes end up. Developing countries. I had a friend who went to a country in Africa to help rebuild their infrastructure. Upon mingling and meeting the locals, my friend came across a little boy who was wearing an NBA Heat national championship shirt. At first, my friend thought, wow, this little guy must be a really big fan. Yet something felt off to him. The Heat didn't win a national or NBA championship in 2011. They won in 2012 and 2013. No, you see, this was a shirt donated by the NBA that was extra, wasted in our eyes. So we shipped it off to another nation, out of sight and out of mind. This happens in every sport, in every league, at every level, for every team, in every single year. Now, don't get me wrong. These kids are so incredibly thankful for our donations. They truly are. Except many of the places where our clothes end up, these places already have perfectly fine clothing. So what would you do if you were given a shirt and you already have a closet filled with them? What would you do? You would donate it. And it would end up here. You see, when you donate, you may have the idea that all your clothes are being used by those in need. The truth is, not all clothes that are donated are used, and charities often throw them away. In fact, this mountain behind me is entirely made up of textile waste and clothing. Yet some clothes aren't thrown away. Instead, they are donated to developing countries, which at first sounds great, right? Wrong. No, you see, developing countries suffer great repercussions from the clothes donations. When mission trips went into Haiti after the devastating 2010 earthquake, disaster relief helpers were handing out free clothing down the street. And when they looked down that same very street, shop owners were closing up their windows, locking their doors and walking home. You see, they couldn't compete with the free clothing given out down the street, and the disaster relief helpers unintentionally dismantled the economy. But disaster relief in the United States is often the same. While it sounds amazing in theory, clothes often end up in piles similar to this one, covering an entire basketball court in the Bronx after Hurricane Sandy. But let me ask you a question. Does anyone know the average amount of clothes? Does anyone know the amount of clothes that the average American throws away every single year? No? All right, well, why don't I show you? This pile weighs 70 pounds. This pile represents one single American. This pile weighs 70 pounds. We have 323 million Americans. I don't even have to do the math to show you that we have a problem. But I did it anyway. That's 22 billion pounds of clothes per year. I'm going to say it again. 22 billion pounds of clothes per year. And the only fathomable way to show this and to quantify this is show you how many times 22 billion pounds of clothes fills up Ben Griffin Stadium. It fills it up 22 times. So the question is, how do we stop this? We stop this by thinking before we donate and making sure our clothes will be used. Starting with the University of Florida in one shirt, we are going to revolutionize the way you think and act when it comes to donating clothes. Instead of donating and having no idea where your clothes will end up, our organization, One Shirt, will take your unwanted and unused clothing, shred it down to its fibers, to create new material, to craft new items, such as clothing, rugs, carpets, towels, and so on. Once we have the material, we will resell it to the manufacturing companies for a fraction of the cost. We will be reducing the amount of cotton we use and waste, all the while recycling. But why start at universities? By working with on-campus universities on-campus organizations at the University of Florida, we will guarantee maximum participation. Partnering with organizations who currently do clothes donation drives will provide us with clothes otherwise headed to the trash. But we are only starting with the University of Florida. We plan to roll this idea out to every single university in the state. That provides us with over 200,000 eager students ready to change the world. Also, while working with these students, we will ensure that these sustainable practices will continue for generations. But I agree with you, all of you, all you skeptics and non-believers, I thank you and I agree with you. We need more questions and we need more answers to questions like how is this going to affect markets today and how would industries respond to this idea? So first, the clothing industry. As we strip down clothing and fabric, we will resell it and recirculate it to the clothing industry. This immensely reduces the amount of cotton and other material that is necessary to make clothing, as well as rebrands the clothing industry to be more sustainable. Not to mention, we can still make other forms of materials such as carpets, rugs, and towels. Second, the cotton industry. While we recirculate clothing into the market, we will drastically reduce the amount of cotton and other material needed to make clothing, which at first will hurt the cotton industry. It will. However, the less cotton we need, the less land we need to cultivate it on, thus allowing this land to be used for agricultural production, which will help feed our world as we speed towards a global population of 9.6 billion by the year 2050. And finally, donation services and disaster relief efforts. I believe in donations, and I believe in helping people. However, I also believe we need to think before we give. While donating hundreds of pounds of clothes to aid in disaster relief services sounds great in theory, oftentimes clothes are the country's last concern. And here I thought cleaning out my closet every single year to donate to donation services is meaningful, Oftentimes my clothes are never worn again. So instead of aimlessly donating our clothes, we need to think before we give, thus eliminating huge amounts of waste in the process. But this is not my innovation. No, this is our innovation. If we work together, we will be able to create sustainable clothing for the entire world, all the while instilling better practices for the world to use for future generations. If we think before we donate, and we intentionally donate to one shirt, we'll save the earth, one shirt at a time. Thank you.
Very nice. Each year, people attend OneWorld to celebrate the amazing teaching, research, and practice that creates sustainability for our world. I would like to introduce to you the Beacon. What is this, you ask? All right. The Beacon. I'll tell you. A nautical sextant made of brass used throughout history to guide sailors to their destinations. It symbolizes the light that each of these deserving award winners provides to our students, stakeholders, and communities. A light towards sustainability for our world. It is now my privilege to introduce our first set of award presenters to present the Outstanding Leader Award. 2017 OneWorld Solution 6 speaker, Drew Carlton, and 2016 OneWorld Solution 6 presenter and 2017 OneWorld Outstanding Leader Award recipient, Shelby Thomas.
The Outstanding Leader Award is given each year to a student that exemplifies the change we need in this world. Sorry.
Our winner tonight is different. Different in a good way. Because he or she pushes the boundaries of what it means to be possible and what it means to be a student.
This year, our winner is a champion of change through her development of the women and empowerment of leadership aimed at social advocacy.
Through her research and passionate practice for the Saratoga Foundation for Women, the Celebration Foundation, the American Red Cross, the Ebola 100 Project, and Projects for Haiti, she exudes what it means to be a leader. In addition, she was chosen to present at the Public Policy and Leadership Conference at Harvard, the Conference on Human Rights at Northwestern University, and most recently on the floor of the United Nations in support of women and the role that they play in the future leadership of our world.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for. The Beacon goes to
Jasmine Hathaway.
Awesome. So, our second presenter is a senior animal sciences major from Miami, Florida. Her career passions include sustainable agriculture and interdisciplinary problem solving. One of her personal philosophies for saving the world is that small, everyday actions can create reverberating change. She hopes to empower individuals with convenient tools, programs, and incentives that they can use every day to help save the world. Give it up for Kayla Caselli-Vido.
Moments happen every second, every day, every week. Usually, when they happen, we don't even notice. We overlook them. They seem so insignificant. But often,
they can be the fuel needed for pivotal change. In just a few seconds, a dream can be created. In just one moment, a dream can lead to a revolution. Like moments, waste is all around us. From 2016 to 2017, the University of Florida campus generated over 15,000 tons of waste, not including any waste from our football games. Right? I know. About 57% of this waste went to a landfill, decomposing under anaerobic conditions, contributing to the production of methane and carbon dioxide. As we all know, greenhouse gases are bad for the environment and a significant contributor to climate change. Well, at least most of us know this. But I am not here tonight to spew climate change facts at you. These facts have not had profound personal effects on how the majority of us live our daily lives. But what I do hope to accomplish is to make you have a moment where it just hits you, like a brick wall. I had my moment on November 4th of 2017. It was a typical Saturday, which meant my boyfriend and I were running around town, checking off shopping lists, and taking advantage of my personal favorite, Publix photos. It's kind of an obsession of mine. So we were running around town, and we decided to eat lunch at Grove Rush, right across from campus. It's one of our go-tos for several reasons. Their kale chimichurri is out of this world, and for a sustainability nerd like me, I love that they use recyclable and compostable containers. When we finished our meal, I went to throw away our containers in the appropriate bins, and it just hit me. The very same containers I placed such high importance on from a sustainability perspective were overflowing out of the trash bin. These items would have the same fate as any other product. They would go to a landfill, produce greenhouse gases, and the materials would never be utilized again. So ultimately, what this meant is even though a manufacturer, a restaurant, and a customer all chose to use a sustainable product, it would still end up in the landfill. This was a serious punch in my gut. We had done everything right, and just by not placing it in the appropriate bin, it was all a waste. A waste of time, a waste of energy, a waste of resources, a waste of effort. I felt completely defeated in this moment, and an overwhelming emotion came over me. I knew something had to change, and I knew I needed to be part of it. So why is it so terrible that a few containers that could be recycled or composted end up in the trash bin? Well, there are a few reasons. According to the University of Florida's Facility Services, these are the most current disposal costs, not including special handling or hauling fees in Alachua County. It costs $53.42 per ton to dispose of waste in the landfill. It costs $43 per ton to compost waste. And here is the real jaw dropper. Alachua County doesn't charge, but credits the university for commingled recyclables, depending on the market value. This proves that not only is it better for the environment to recycle and compost, it is also cost effective. If we can manage to recycle or compost even 50% of the 8,000 tons of waste we sent to the landfill last year, it could be saving an upwards of about $250,000 per year. The other reason a few things thrown in the wrong bin can lead to a serious problem is because recycle or compost bins that are contaminated with a large number of landfill items will be taken to, you guessed it, the landfill. For the entire university, about 10 employees collect all the waste with the help of custodial staff in each building. With a ratio of over 1,000 tons of waste to one single employee, it is easy to see why they do not have time to sit there picking through our garbage. If we don't get it right the first time, we could spoil entire bags and truckloads of materials that could have been diverted from the landfill. This is a costly mistake for our university, and the environment. My moment at GrowFresh is when my OneWorld solution came to fruition, leading to my innovation, the chomper. The chomper is a smart trash can that aims to guarantee we correctly sort waste right from the get-go. In a closed-loop waste system, there's the idea that everything that gets manufactured would be ultimately reutilized again. By reducing contamination, the chomper could help to close the last loop of the cycle by decreasing the amount of recyclable and compostable items that end up in the landfill. Why is this innovation needed? Recycling and composting systems have confused consumers for years, which has led to high contamination rates. Seems a little ridiculous, right? Don't we all know what can be landfilled, recycled, or composted? I mean, isn't it obvious a Gatorade bottle can be recycled while an apple core can be composted? Well, it's just not that simple. The diversity of the world's waste stream continues to increase, and the UF campus is no exception. New materials and products from all over the world hit store shelves daily. To make things more complicated, recycling regulations are different between every state and even different between counties within the same state. And to add yet another layer of confusion, these regulations change more often than our football coach. Seriously. It is a full-time job to keep up with the newest regulations, and even those who do still don't have all the answers. I know of 2 departments on this very campus who have very different opinions on whether pizza boxes can be recycled or not. I mean, it's a serious controversy. And if experts can't agree, why should we have to stress out about it? Well, I think Van Mullen is our guide, and I know the chomper is our solution. The chomper uses image recognition and an artificial intelligence program to appropriately sort waste for us. As the system sorts more waste, it has the potential to learn new products and subsequently which bin it should go into. Placed in the O'Connell Center, it would have 3 compartments, one for plastic, metal, and glass recyclables, compost, and landfill waste. So for example, you go to a Gator basketball game and you need to throw away a bag of chips. You insert the bag into the chomper's opening, the scanners decipher where this item should go, and the item is placed in the appropriate compartment. The O'Connell Center is the perfect place to roll this out because it has a controlled waste stream. Outside food items are not allowed in, and personal items are limited to very small bags. Because of this controlled environment, we would be able to have the receptacles connected to a photo bank of the common waste items generated in the arena. The software would match what is thrown into the receptacle with a data bank of photos and then be able to make a decision as to which one of the compartments it should go into. As vendors change and new items are added or discontinued, the software could be continually updated to remain as efficient as possible. During the sorting process, the opening of the trash can will remain closed for a short period of time. The timeliness of the sorting process is extremely important because when you have an arena that can hold up to 10,000 people, filled to 75% capacity, for over 80 events in a given year, you have up to 500,000 people throwing away trash. Some people will say easier solutions for this problem already exist. Take, for example, the current waste bins in the O'Connell Center. They feature common waste items, as shown here. Unfortunately, this method has proven fairly ineffective. I know what you're thinking. Kayla, this is craziness. We are a top 10 university. Of course, we can look at a sign and figure out which bin it goes into. We're smart. Well, unfortunately, this has nothing to do with our IQ level. Contamination rates remain at an all-time high as the responsibility of correctly sorting has been left up to the individual. People funneling in and out of an arena are not focused on learning waste disposal habits. As one of the employees of Facilities Services put it, messaging regarding waste disposal often becomes part of the backdrop for people. And let's be honest, Gator sports at the O'Connell Center are often accompanied by nail-biting fans. Throwing nachos in the compost bin is the least of their worries when Chris Chioza is hitting buzzer beaters and Carly Snyder is catapulting aces over the net. The O'Connell Center is the epitome of Gator sports and a sacred space to do a Gator tradition. Gator chomp. Now everyone, let's do a Gator chomp together. Right over left, chomp on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Go Gators.
Woo, go Gators. Always feels great to do a Gator chomp. As a Gator and a Gator fan, I think people will be more interested in the system if the opening to the receptacle is a Gator head that chomps to open and close. Not only will this be more fun, it will remind us that every time we throw something away in the chomper, we are doing our part to help our campus be more sustainable. Not only for ourselves, our classmates, and our professors, but for the Gator good, which is the greater good. If we do not change our ways, scenes of trash floating in the ocean for miles will become a regular phenomenon that will touch our shores. We cannot continue living our lives with this out of sight, out of mind mentality regarding our waste. This idea that if we bury our trash deep enough, we can hide the blemishes of our current practices. By doing so, we avoid the inefficiency of our ways and forget about the sins we have committed against Mother Nature. The chomper will allow us to save the world by chopping down on waste one trash can at a time. And with that, I leave you with a quote by David Suzuki, a Canadian environmental activist. In nature, there is no such thing as waste. In nature, nothing is wasted, everything is recycled. Thank you, and go Gators.
And now presenting the International Development Award, please join me in welcoming 2016 OneWorld Solution 6 speaker, Heather Ryan, and Family, Youth, and Community Sciences Senior Lecturer, Kate Fletcher.
It's great to be here tonight. The International Development Award is given to a person whose work in international contexts creates sustainability for all global communities.
This year's award goes to some pretty special people. Their work has created capacity for leadership, community, and sustainable education in the developing context of Haiti through their organization that they founded and continue to run, P4H Global.
These two people have the incredible ability to make you smile, laugh, and work harder than you ever thought possible, just because their passion is so contagious.
From training teachers in Haiti to developing impact trips and campation for students and faculty, their work is grounded in one simple yet powerful statement: training people to transform nations.
And without any further ado, it is my privilege to give the beacon to
Dr. Gertrude Albert and Priscilla Zelaya.
So our third member of the Solution 6 is a regular world traveler and hydrophiliac. She loves anything and everything to do with water, specifically conserving it, sanitizing it, and protecting it. She is actively studying environmental sciences and also agricultural education and communication with a minor in leadership. Her love for the outdoors motivates her to do all she can to protect the world and its beauty. So give a warm welcome to Megan Lundekbaum.
time that I discovered there were other career options besides becoming becoming president or becoming an astronaut. I decided that I wanted to be a marine biologist, as most kids who grow by the water decide at one point in their life because, you know, marine biologists just get to spend every day playing with dolphins and sea turtles, right? Despite my logic, my dad was really excited about this because he has always had a huge passion for the environment, and especially for marine environments. In fact, his love of adventure, exploration, travel, sailing, surfing, scuba diving, mountain biking, and the outdoors in general is really what has inspired most of my passions and is arguably the reason I'm standing before you all tonight. And that's my dad. So anyway, one day I came home from school and my dad was all excited and he told me he wanted to show me something. Now, my dad is not the most charismatic fellow, so when he said this, I figured it had to be good. So we went into the kitchen and he presented to me a couple of articles that he had cut out from the newspaper that morning. Needless to say, when I figured out the big surprise was a couple of newspaper articles, I was slightly disappointed, but once we started talking, I quickly became just as excited as he was. They were all stories about events happening in our very own state, and even in our own city, that directly impacted our environment. He wanted to highlight the growing prevalence of environmental issues and show me that the things we'd be learning about are directly impacting us every single day. From that day on, it became a tradition. And every time we would find articles related to the environment, we would save them for each other and talk about them when we could. We talked about the changes happening in our state's marine environments and the ecological implications of those changes. We talked about the effects climate change has had on the severity of natural disasters and what those impacts mean for our local community and environment. And we've always tried to keep track of the health and future of our favorite place in the world, our beaches. In fact, these conversations with my dad about our environment and really about the world in general were so important to me that I saved every single article, and I have them with me tonight. But before long, I started to notice a trend. I began to realize that almost everything that's happening around us is in some way related to water. The importance of water is reflected in these articles and really in everything we do. In fact, it's the reason we're in this very room tonight. In 1905, the University of Florida had an offer to move from its original location in Lake City to Gainesville. The city of Gainesville lobbied for UF to move by promising an unlimited lifetime supply of water to the university free of charge. Now, the decision seemed obvious, but if water wasn't so important, we could all be in Lake City right now. Benjamin Franklin once wrote, "When the well is dry, we will know the worth of water." That was in 1746. It seems that in over 250 years, our technology may have improved, but our ability to understand the true value of something before it's gone clearly is not. Today, the importance of water has become increasingly obvious, as issues related to water quality and water quantity are becoming more and more abundant. So, when I was presented with the challenge of addressing a global problem, I immediately knew I wanted to address our global water problem. I started to think about ways in which we as individuals currently use water. I thought about the water we use for drinking, for using the bathroom, washing our clothes, washing our dishes, and washing ourselves. But all of these uses seem to have already been addressed. We have toilets that use less water per flush, washing machines that regulate water use, and more signs in bathrooms encouraging you to shut the water off while scrubbing and brushing. But partly because of my dad's occupation in the home building business, I was aware of another huge culprit when it came to water waste: landscaping. By the way, this is not two separate photos. This photo was taken by famous photographer Edward Bertinsky, who travels around the world trying to capture nature transformed through industry. He once said, "While trying to accommodate the growing needs of an expanding and very thirsty civilization, we are reshaping the earth in colossal ways." My hope is that these pictures will stimulate a process of thinking about something essential to our survival, something we often take for granted until it's gone. This particular photo is of Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Reservation on the left side of this road, and a suburb in Scottsdale, Arizona on the right.
Over 60% of all of the water used in residential homes goes to watering our lawns. But what's even more alarming is the fact that a lot of this water is being used unnecessarily. Many landscapes use massive amounts of turf grass or species that are not properly adapted to the climate in which they're planted, therefore requiring excessive amounts of water and fertilizer to maintain. The Florida Friendly Landscaping Program was created by the University of Florida IFAS Extension Service and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in order to provide education and training for homeowners, communities, and professionals looking to implement more environmentally sustainable landscaping practices. When I learned that we had this incredible resource with its foundation right here on the University of Florida's campus, it all seemed so simple to me. For my OneWorld project, I would simply work with the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program to convert all of the landscaping on UF's campus to FFL certified sustainable landscaping. Duh. I thought that starting with our college campus would be an excellent way to save massive amounts of water, considering our campus covers over 2,000 acres. But also a great way to educate and inspire our students to want to carry these practices with them as they graduate and move out into the world. But as you could have probably guessed, once I started to do a bit more research and meet with many of the professionals working within IFAS and the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, I became aware of the many underlying complications that were standing in the way of this change. The University of Florida currently does not have a set of guidelines that regulates landscaping and irrigation. This means that all new landscaping projects are in complete hands of the project manager, and there's no oversight to ensure that these plans utilize environmentally sustainable practices. With our Assistant Director of Grounds, Tom Wickman, having served years as a State Master Gardener, and all of the other overlap between the Landscaping Committee for the University of Florida and the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, there is a strong desire to have our campus reflect these values. But without concrete, enforceable guidelines in place, there's no way to ensure that these needs are met. And this is a problem this is not just something that our own university deals with, but many universities across the country also face these same issues. So upon learning about this obstacle, my new goal became finding a way to implement permanent landscaping guidelines for UF's campus. I sat down with Dr. Gail Hansen, who, among many other things, works for the Center for Landscape Conservation and Ecology and is the chairperson for the Lakes Vegetation and Landscaping Committee at the University of Florida. She expressed to me that these guidelines are something that the university has had a desire for some time, but there was another obstacle standing in the way of this process. Before any guidelines regarding the regulation of our landscapes could be drawn up, we first needed a way to assess our current landscaping practices and thereby develop specific action plans for budgeting and documentation. There currently is not a tool that allows for this sort of assessment, yet this tool will be the first and most imperative step towards addressing water sustainability through landscaping. So, it was then that my innovation was born. For OneWorld 2018, I am proposing the creation of a web-based audit tool, specifically designed for college campuses that will allow schools across the nation to inventory their current landscaping conditions and landscaping practices and efficiently assess their environmental impact. With the opportunities a web-based platform presents, this tool will be designed to cater to the specific characteristics of campuses in any climatic region, of any size, and of any kind. The target users are the university staff, the head of grounds, the people in charge of maintenance, and the committee members in charge of making landscaping decisions. These professionals will work through a series of checklists catered to the specific area of campus and designed to assess things like type of land cover, the different species of plants, number of trees, and irrigation practices for each section of their campus. By entering this information, this audit tool will then provide users with a score based on how environmentally sustainable their current practices are, followed by suggestions for changes that can be made to maximize sustainability. This information will be conveniently held in an online database that other schools can access not only for comparison, but also to utilize as a blueprint for scalability to all universities, so they can generate their own ideas as to how they can improve their own landscapes. Although the tool is intended for those individuals that are regarded as most qualified to perform these assessments, this tool will have a reporting structure to increase student involvement and provide assistance for maintenance. If an issue with irrigation, such as a leaky pipe or an unnecessary sprinkler path is observed, there will be a space on the website that will allow for students to report these issues, giving them a sense of inclusion, responsibility, and pride, knowing they have a voice when it comes to their school. but the hopes that this audit instrument gains widespread use. The scores produced can be seen as an accurate indication of the values universities hold and publicized, so rising college students can also see what their prospective schools are doing to encourage sustainability on campus and hopefully take these things into consideration as they're choosing where they want to invest on their education. But most importantly, this tool will provide the necessary foundation universities need for the future implementation of their own permanent landscaping guidelines. Second generation plans include the creation of an app designed for mobile use to increase ease and convenience during data collection. So I began this process with a grand idea, one that sounded a bit more glamorous than an audit tool, but also one that, like many of the amazing ideas we have today, had a long list of things standing in its way. If I were to be granted the winner of OneWorld and the recipient of the prize money, I could not guarantee that sustainable landscaping nationwide would be the result. But I can guarantee that this tool will get us one step closer towards that goal. On September 13th, 2017, the University of Florida became the first Florida school to break into the list of top 10 best public universities, coming in at number 9. But of course, as leaders of change, we here at the university are constantly striving to do more and to be better. The moment we became a top 10 university, our new goal became making it to the top 5. If we expect to pull ahead in this race towards preeminence, we need to ensure we are a leading institution in all areas. We have excellent academics, state-of-the-art facilities, world-renowned professors, and incredibly successful graduates. The time has come to hold sustainability to the same standard. We absolutely cannot wait until the well is dry before we understand the true worth of water.
And now presenting the Social Advancement Award. Please join me in welcoming to the stage 2017 OneWorld winner, Marcella Mulholland, and HM Close Senior Resource Manager and Advocate of Awesomeness, Claudia Gurmashausen.
Award is given to someone who, simply put, makes our world better.
This year, our award winners have made it their life's work to create a better world, and it all started with a seed.
From a small garden in their yard, they embarked upon a journey in 1996. A journey grounded in the belief that no man, woman, or child should be without nutrition and have that diminish the quality of their life.
From what started by standing in front of grocery stores and in intersections collecting canned goods, to what has become a partnership with the Department of Children and Families to open food banks in 53 counties in Florida, and servicing and maintaining food distribution sites in 10 counties in North Central Florida, they are profoundly impacting our world.
They provide nutritious meals to 10,000 people every month through their organization, the Children's Table. Recently, the Children's Table and its partners have sent approximately 500,000 pounds of food to the hurricane-torn areas of Puerto Rico. In addition, it is estimated that in 2017 alone, the Children's Table has distributed food to over 120,000 people in North Central Florida.
And the beacon goes to...
So excited. Okay. Bill and Verna Brown.
So, our next presenter also hails from the beautiful and diverse city of Miami. She is currently pursuing a Master of Business Administration here at the University of Florida and hopes to pursue a career in strategy. She believes in the collective power of individuals to bring necessary change to our world. She is inspired by humanity's resilient nature to innovate and create sustainable change. Give a round of applause for Katiana Adrian.
Two key terms to remember are water and hurricane. Putting it into the equation form, water plus hurricane equals negative 2050. You see, me and this bottle have a lot in common. Can anyone guess what it is? No worries, it's a rhetorical question. But to answer the question, I am 57 to 65% made up of water, and so is this water bottle. So basically, we're related. We're like kin, right? I know, the statement makes us laugh and giggle, but no, really, we are made up of a majority of water, and that's how important this very substance is to our existence. Think about it in this way. Humans can last up to 21 days or more without food, but can only last up to 7 days without water, and that's under great conditions. The rate of water is literally vanishing quicker than you can say, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Said by none other than Kramer from Seinfeld. With a 55% increase of demand predicted between year 2000 and 2050, we as a nation and as a planet are facing a water crisis. Now, the hurricane. Everyone sigh with me. One of the most common natural disasters that occur here in the United States is a hurricane, the damages of which accumulates an average of $4.4 billion and possibly more. According to ABC News, within a 5-day time span, Hurricane Harvey produced 51.88 inches of rain, equivalent to 20 trillion gallons of water. The storm displaced 42,000 individuals from their homes into shelters. Overall, 120,000 residents were left without water after sanitation and treatment plants were rendered inoperable. As Floridians, we know too well the destruction hurricanes can have on the lives of our loved ones. In 2017, with strong winds of 185 miles per hour and remaining a Category 5 for 3 days, Hurricane Irma became the strongest Atlantic basin hurricane to ever hit Florida, pushing floodwaters onto land and reaching 5.5 inches. I can see on your faces there's just so many numbers. I know, but stick with me. Let me provide you with just one more fact. Currently, to be exact, 4 months after Hurricane Maria ravaged through Puerto Rico, leaving behind millions of people without water, today, as I speak, 3.4 million residents are left without water. Isn't that a shocking statement to hear? My heart goes out to these individuals because I know how it feels. Raised in the vibrant country of Miami, I was immersed in an area that exuded strength, compassion, unity, and diversity. My zeal for wanting to preserve the planet and saving lives was derived from the very home that I grew up in. This all began from my very heritage, as a descendant of the islanders of the beautiful country of Haiti. I know how it feels to witness your family home being destroyed by storms. Their pain became my pain. Their struggle became my struggle. Having your life completely change in a matter of a week after many years of building is shattering to witness. Thus, I could not simply stand by and do absolutely nothing. While hurricanes increase the burden on clean water supply, what if I said there is a solution to the water crisis and hurricanes are part of the solution? Here is why. They concurrently provide the opportunity to harvest the excess accumulated water. Bingo, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, this leads me to introduce to you Adrian Pure Filtration System, also known as AG Pure, a water dispensary microplant that is solar powered and designed to produce clean filtered water. Of course, making it accessible to communities impacted by natural disasters. Not only will this target the water crisis, but also help alleviate waterborne infections and diseases. The water purification process occurs on two scales. We have the indoor mobile unit and the outdoor mobile unit. The indoor unit is ideal for the family home, filtering approximately 10 gallons daily, while the outdoor mobile unit will be transported and stationed near flood zones, filtering water about 3,000 gallons daily. This is a 5-stage process. Stage 1 and 2 screens out rough particulates respectively. Layer 1 is a pre-sediment filter and a blocker, and layer 2 is a fibrous membrane. In other words, this functions as your personal Brita that you use on a daily basis. Next, we have the pump, which is the driving force pushing the water through the system. Stage 3 involves elevating the temperature using a rod to provide that heating factor to remove bacteria. Stage 4, water goes through a microfiltration process that is made out of a porous ceramic filter. And stage 5 is a cooling process, which is used to make the water drinkable. It seems simple, right? Right. UF has invested in innovative technology to predict and prepare for natural disasters such as hurricanes. Now, it's our turn to design a product that will help complement these various projects to help with the aftermath of natural disasters. What an opportunity. But wait, to reduce from being biased and also quench some of your concerns, I'm going to dabble a little bit on the other side. What if natural disasters never occurred again? Is this product still useful? And the answer is absolutely yes. Polluted water is our specialty, whether it is crafted by an unwanted storm or simply a body of water polluted by human activity. Now that I have poured out everything before you, what will be your response? Though this may be a great idea that will save the lives of many and help combat the negative outcomes of year 2050, how can you be the change? The answer is own it, own it, own it. What do I mean by that? This is not just my idea, it's our idea. So embrace and be proud of it. Own it. We are the ones who are taking a stand for our families to save their lives. So own it. It is through educating ourselves, our family, and the community that we will cause a positive change in year 2050. So own it. When we go out there to serve our nation and the world, I want us to be remembered as being a group of people who took a stand and owned it here and now. Today, I want you to remember these key terms: water, hurricane, and AG Pure. In the beginning, I started off with the equation water plus hurricane equals negative 2050. Now our equation is UF community plus AG Pure equals positive 2050. So after sitting here today and listening to how we can change the world, what will be your response? Will you take a stand with me? Thank you.
And now presenting the Distinguished Advocate Award, Professor and Associate Department Chair for Agricultural Education and Communication, Dr. Nicole Stedman, and Leadership Graduate Assistant and future President of the University of
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, the Distinguished Advocate Award is given each year to someone who has dedicated their life to developing others through commitment, conviction, and tremendous leadership.
Without question, this award winner has given altruistically, and he's done so over an awe-inspiring 42 years.
So for about 5 years, you could find this amazing guy developing agricultural science teachers in the bustling metropolis of Buchanan, Virginia. Population 1,173 to be precise.
However, it wasn't long before higher education became common. First as a graduate assistant at The Ohio State University, and then as a faculty member at the University of Illinois. Extending his scope and reach, he was a tireless advocate for developing future leaders of the agricultural industry.
And you know what, y'all? Then he made his way to the South. Now, I don't know if it was the heat, the sunshine, the water, the daily rain, but you know, he decided to stay here. And he went on to serve as the chair of the department, which I call home, UF's Department of Agricultural Education and Communication. And the wild part, he served in this capacity for 19 challenging yet very rewarding years.
During his time as chair, he helped thousands of undergraduates see their potential. Hundreds of graduate students learned the ropes of academia while contributing critical research aimed at improving our world, and mentored countless faculty, including me, to be the best versions of themselves while having the confidence to uphold the values that create an impact for our world.
And the beacon goes to...
Super exciting. Dr. Ed Osborne.
Okay, so our fifth presenter is an eloquent student studying food science and political science. He is in his 4th year here at the University of Florida, and he hopes to give a voice to the voiceless and lobby for sustainable food production and distribution locally as well as globally. He hopes to create a paradigm shift in the food sector so no one has to choose between the quality of the food or the cost of their food. Here to talk about his innovation, Madi Kassam.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Madi Kassam, a 4th year at the University of Florida, and right before I got to this event, I just ate a bowl full of ice cream and I feel great. So much for the nerves. And that's important to know also as well, for a couple of reasons. One, I love food. To eat it, to cook it, to grow it. More importantly, and I think hopefully it's something we share in common with everyone else here, I need food. Being a food science major, it got me thinking about the foods I've been exposed to all my life. One of my bigger memories, when I was a little kid, first entering elementary school, what I'm about to show you is an actual school cafeteria lunch menu. from that time there. Now, a lot of you may have different reactions to seeing what I was being served that week. But let me explain to you the reaction my parents had when they first saw this. Monty, this is incredible. Oh my God, you get so much food. Wow, I'm so glad you're zoned for this place. Because you see, being on food stamps at the time, I qualified for my school's free lunch program. So all this food that my parents were seeing, it was free for me, which was great. With them also being immigrants from Tanzania, this type of food wasn't usually featured. It was a way to acclimate to the culture. And so to them, I was going to feasting like a king every day at school for free. And as a kid, I just saw pizza every day, and it won me over. Which is also doubling as great parenting advice, going to win the kid's heart over, just give them free pizza. Quick way to a kid's heart. But it's not a quick way to a healthy, sustainable lifestyle. In fact, most of what is good for us isn't quick. Most of what is good needs to be grown. And good is only grown when we invest in it. Be it with effort, time, or money. And as a country, I can tell you this now, we're not doing the money part too well. This is a graph of the 2011 federal budget. And as you can see, and to little surprise, the very big portion is the military defense spending. The type of portion that would make like a lot of family members give you like side eyes, you know, Thanksgiving dinner, right? And right next to it, in a teeny tiny tilt your head, maybe you can see it, you see food and agriculture. When you have a military budget 45 times bigger than your food budget, we might get the idea that protecting this country is more important than feeding it. And so every single day, 10 Americans, soldiers, will be injured overseas, and that's a tragedy. There's no doubt about that. But what is less known is that every single day, 80 Americans will also suffer in this country based on the food they eat. But that's a statistic. At least that's how it's being treated. Because we live in an American family where your Uncle Sam wants you, but so does your Aunt Jemima. So we're not doing the money part too well. But here's the rub. The USDA is the new Department of Defense. The way the latter fortifies a base, the USDA fortifies a body. They are what we put into them. They are what we manifest. But now comes the time and effort. Two things I don't have to need to check my bank account before I offer up. So in terms of time, by most predictions, in the year 2050, the Earth's population will have grown to a staggering, jaw-dropping, over 9 billion. So we don't have much time either. So where do we put all this effort if we're low on time and money? To answer this question, I'm going to borrow a song title from my workout playlist, which has an embarrassing amount of Whitney Houston in it. Okay? The children are our future. My inspiration, the reason I'm up here talking to you all today, the reason I get up and wake up in the morning and try to graduate UF is by the year 2050, my goal is to have every public elementary school in America equipped with a school gardening program. Living, learning laboratories, planted, harvested, and blossomed by kids who will be able to enjoy its reward. Low-income students who qualify for a free or reduced lunch will no longer have their only vegetables coming from the tomato on their pizza. Free fruits and vegetables that is grown by the children and for the children, like our children, will respond to each school's individual needs. Those that need to conserve space can employ vertical gardens, and those in different climates will be employing different crops. But people may well ask, why elementary schools? Why these kids who are only at the ages of 6 through 11? And to answer that question, I could cite studies from the Department of Education in California, who said that a school gardening program elevated science test scores by a sizable 11% over one semester. I could also cite a study by Texas A&M, who saw over a 2-year period a reduction in childhood obesity by 23%. Go Aggies. And those are excellent statistics to back this idea up, but they don't exactly capture why I'm doing it. Numbers and facts and percentages are necessary, but to me, they're secondary. Because what comes to my mind first when I think of these children is that logically they are the inheritors of tomorrow. Emotionally, they are at an age of vulnerability because they depend on us, and because personally, I was one of these low-income children. So my buddy has this saying: be the person you wish you had when you were a kid. And here's how we can do it. In the form of elementary school gardening programs, and on top of that, vertically integrate all parts of our community. On the scale of companies and corporations, we would be working with dynamic seed-producing companies like HM Close. Companies that have a safe, reliable source of seeds that can work in a particular school's climate and area. And it doesn't stop there. There is excellent potential. The amount of food grown will not be sufficient for the amount of food needed. And that's a great thing. Because on the back end, we can work with intentional fruit and vegetable producing companies like FreshPoint. So schools can develop a curriculum with respect to preparing, preserving, and using all these school-grown food items. In addition, companies like FreshPoint can subsidize the fruits and vegetables that a particular school can't accommodate for, be it money, climate, or even frankly, space. But the strategic partnership and integration doesn't stop there. I told you about the scale of nationwide companies, but on the scale of the local farmer, we're gonna need their help too. Someone who is intimate with growing food in that portion of the country, who knows more about what fruit and vegetables are viable under what time and under what season, as well as being a local source for soil and advisement to the school, cutting down on the bulky transportation costs of both soil and consultation. But according to a Swahili proverb, the language of my parents, it takes a village. And what's a village without the individual community member? You, the parents, the volunteer, the adult who was once a child at this school. What can you do? Educate, advocate, and most importantly, set an example. Come in after school to help a child plant a seed, to water a crop, to pluck a tomato off the vine. Because currently as a country, we're not doing enough for our kids. But I'm not giving blame. I'm asking us to take responsibility. And I'm not just talking about responsibility individually, but as a country, we need to grow. Grow as a nation, as a people, and as ones responsible for our children. Ones who will be doing their own sort of growing. With crops, yes, but also be growing developmentally and emotionally into young adults that we've helped plant seeds of responsibility and a healthy lifestyle. My name is Monica Sam, and after giving this talk, I'm feeling a bit guilty about that ice cream. But thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your night. Go Gators.
And now presenting our final award of the evening, the Champion Award. Please join me in welcoming OneWorld 2018 Planning Committee members, William Donahue, Karina McBride, and Kate Rose.
It is our distinct pleasure to present the final award of the evening, the Champion.
The Champion, our highest honor, goes to someone who continuously pushes our students to be better than they thought they ever could be.
The champion is someone who provides students with that extra special balance of challenge and support that provides the rigor to do the work that they do, but also the confidence to become the person that they're going to become.
There's something special about this year's recipient, in that when students hear their name, they say, "I love her."
Her impact on students started in 1993 as a graduate student teaching classes at a little university that is best known for recently losing their football coach to the Gator Nation. She has traveled to many different places along her professional journey, but in 2010, the students of UF received a gift as she decided to establish roots here. She began the Department of Microbiology and Cell Science at the University of Florida.
She has earned 5 patents and amassed over $8 million in grant funding since 2005. And although she's a pretty amazing researcher, she also shines in the classroom. She was awarded the 2013 Cowles Teacher of Distinction, the 2013 University of Florida Teacher of the Year, is an Anderson Scholar Faculty Honoree, a Roche Teaching Fellow. This person was also awarded the 2016 North American Colleges and Teachers of Agricultural Educator Award, was named as the 2017 Cowles Undergraduate Faculty Advising and Mentor of the Year, and the 2017 Florida Advisor and Mentor of the Year. And she's a Challenge 2050 Project Faculty Fellow. I've been dreading that all night. It's a long list. To date, she's the only person in history of the University of Florida to win both the Teacher of the Year and the Advisor of the Year at the university level.
But the truth is that these accolades are not her greatest accomplishment. I mean, like you just said, it totally could be because she's awesome. But the true thing is that she prioritizes the relationships with her students over everything. And that is the biggest part of her professional prowess.
And the beacon goes to, there's a lot of people that could be in the audience.
Dr. Monica Oley. Who doesn't actually appear to be in the room at this very moment. We'll be sure to relay that really long list of why we all love her until one of us catches up with her.
Okay, team, we've made it to our final presenter. And he is a 4th-year Venezuelan-American student from Miami. He's studying his passion, landscape architecture. And his world and his face lights up when he has the chance to innovate, create, or even talk about one of his passions, which is sustainable coexistence. Here to present his innovation to save the world, Carlos Perez.
Hello. So, for the last couple of years, I've been working in a town in the Dominican Republic called Verón. I started working there in 2016 as part of a study abroad program led by Dr. Jocelyn Whitmer, the goal of which was to develop a survey to quantify the needs of Verón so decision makers can then take that information and design well-informed projects that reflect the realities on the ground. Once the study abroad was over, I ended up staying with 2 graduate students to help distribute the survey my classmates and I developed. The following months made for some of the most challenging experiences of my life so far. We spent long, hot, exhausting days walking the dusty streets of Verón with volunteers, distributing the survey, which we made way too long for our own good, or trying to coordinate with community leaders to then coordinate with volunteers, which was often a pretty frustrating process. It was like herding cats, except all the cats have families, jobs, responsibilities, and rarely answer your calls. But it was not bad. Before I continue, a little background on Verón. Verón is located just outside of the touristic areas of Bávaro, known for its all-inclusive resorts and nightlife, and Punta Cana, known for its white sand beaches, world-famous golf course, and multi-million-dollar vacation homes. When driving back and forth from Punta Cana to Verón, the disparities can be a little disorienting. If only the tourists knew how the people down the street, the same people working the hotels, are living. Anyway, as these touristic areas grew in size and popularity over the last 20 to 30 years, they needed low-income workers to staff the hotels, resorts, and airport. So during this time of growth, Verón grew alongside Bávaro and Punta Cana in an unplanned and informal way to house all the workers in town during the peak season. But over the years, people have settled there permanently, local economy has taken shape, city government formed, dirt roads started getting paved, the informal became formal. Now Verón is a full-blown urban center with a mostly low-income population and many pressing needs, which include, but are not limited to, clean water access, sewage and garbage disposal, and transportation. So, on one of those long days when our will to administer as many 40-minute surveys as possible was stifled by the suffocating heat, the fumes from traffic, the disparities, and the heavy Dominican lunch one of the lovely ladies we surveyed so generously insisted we join her for, I met Maria, a young mother that serves as a reminder of why I do the work that I do. As we surveyed Maria, I learned she works the night shift in a resort in Bávaro, as many people in Verón do. Every evening she walks about a half hour to get to the main road to wait for a guagua, which is a little bus, to eventually pick her up so she can get to work. And she walks the same road again in the early morning on her way back from work. Now, she works pretty long shifts, about 10 to 12 hours a night, so an hour of walking back and forth every day cuts into the little free time that she has to take care of her boy or to get things done around the house. The road that she walks is unpaved, it's dark, and can be dangerous. She's been mugged a couple times during her commute. To avoid this, she sometimes pays for a moto taxi to get her to where she needs to go, but moto taxis are pretty expensive. Their starting rate is about $5, so she constantly debates whether to spend her cash or walk and risk getting the little that she makes stolen from her. Maria wasn't the only one though, lots of people had similar stories. The following spring, I found out about the Center for Undergraduate Research University Scholars Program. After learning about people like Maria and their experiences with the transportation system, and after experiencing the transportation system firsthand, which sometimes look like this, or like this. But more importantly, after learning about the issue of time poverty that the transportation system often compounds, I applied to the program to learn more about it. The transit system in Verón is made up of several private companies that manage several different types of vehicle fleets. There are motorcycle taxis, regular taxis, buses of varying sizes, but the backbone of the system is a guagua. Guagua is a sort of catch-all term for bus, but in Verón, as well as the rest of the Dominican Republic, it usually refers to a 12-passenger van that travels fixed routes and charges a flat rate, which people typically hop in and out of, so kind of like a bus. According to our 2016 survey, at least 20% of people depend on guaguas for their daily commute to work, to school, or to simply get around town. So for my research project, I focused on them. So I spent the summer working with Ruta Verón to map their guagua routes and stops using GPS devices. I also mapped the moto taxi gathering areas to see how they related to the guagua routes. I laid out the information I gathered onto a graphic map and layered that information with spatial data from our 2016 survey, as well as data gathered by Eden Shufflin, my classmate and partner, who conducted a different follow-up project related to water access. Layering the data sets to show population density allowed me to visually represent what many people I surveyed told me, that there are several areas underserved by the guaguas, which, as I mentioned before, causes people to waste time and money. So when I got back home to Miami that summer, my plan was to use the data that I gathered and the maps that I made as research for my landscape architecture senior capstone project. I thought maybe I could redesign the routes to better service riders. Maybe I could propose a public space oriented around transportation. I have a killer final project, and then at the end, very least I could do was like take the original maps that I made and make them available to the Guago company, Fruta Verón, and the public, along with a rough outline of the schedule. Now, this information is currently unavailable to the public, or even to Fruta Verón, so it would in itself be useful for everyone. But then one day I rode in a Doral trolley, and Doral is a suburb of Miami that I'm from. Before leaving my house, I checked the city website where the live location of each trolley is displayed, along with the estimated time of arrival to a given stop, which is super helpful in planning my day out. Now, normally a trolley ride is pretty uneventful, but after working in Verón, it got me thinking, what if the same technology was available on a guagua? People wouldn't have to wait out in the street for one to eventually pass by. This could help people like Maria make the most out of the little free time that they have outside of work. This technology might even be used to run the transportation system more efficiently, which could save people time. It could reduce the need to own a car altogether, which could reduce traffic. There'd be fewer emissions released into the atmosphere. This could be replicated throughout the Caribbean, maybe the rest of the developing world. So I got in contact with the company that installed the GPS devices in the Doral trolleys, TSO Mobile. They liked my proposal, and it turns out they've worked on a similar transportation system in the Caribbean before, so installing the GPS devices on the guaguas would be super doable. But they also told me a little bit about what else their technology can do and how it can provide the manager of a fleet of vehicles tools that help them run a more cost-effective and efficient operation. Man, I was really excited walking out of that office. I mean, here is a company that already does a lot of the innovative stuff I was thinking about. So after my meeting with TSO Mobile, Dr. Whitmer, Eden, and I went back to deliver the results of our 2016 survey, as well as updates on our follow-up projects to the mayor of Verón, the Ruta Verón manager, and community leaders that we've been working with for several years. When I presented the idea of installing the GPS devices on the guaguas to the Ruta Verón manager, he was pretty enthusiastic about it. Here's a before picture of when I first told him about, here's a before picture. Here's a before picture of when I first told him about the mind mapping project. You can see he's a little skeptical, he's kind of looking like at 3 heads or something. But then here's an after picture of when I told him about getting the GPS devices on the guaguas, and he was all for it. But he was especially excited about the accountability and the efficiency that the technology could provide for his company. The only issue would be funding, and we're currently establishing partnerships to work that out. So these experiences are what I applied to this challenge with. To narrow it down to one innovation for this presentation has been a little bit of a challenge. Sure, equipping transportation systems in lower income nations with technology that brings them to the 21st century is cool and all, but there are so many factors that have contributed to the success of this project, which in my opinion are just as important as the final product. So I'll leave you all with 4 things to think about. The first, and maybe the most important, is landscape architecture. When I tell people I study landscape architecture, they typically think parks, plazas, things like that. And they're not wrong, that's a big chunk of what we do. But when I think of landscape architecture, this is the kind of project that I think about. As landscape architects, we're trained to take into account different landscapes, if you will. Ecological, cultural, political, technological, and so on. Our designs then stem from an understanding of all these landscapes, which woven together form the urban fabric in which we work. The result, but it can also include projects like what I talked about tonight. So we either need more landscape architects or more people thinking like landscape architects. Because to come up with a successful innovation in any setting, the developing world or domestically, our ideas need to be informed by the place that we're working in and the stakeholders that we're working with. These things take time. My work is a product of 4 to 5 years of research that Dr. Whitmer has accomplished with the help of 30+ students in understanding the complexities of Verón. It took me 2 years to come up with something that I feel confident will help people. You can have a great idea, but if you don't do your research, if you don't establish partnerships, if you don't allow your project to grow organically, it can fall flat. Next is kids that look like me. We need more people of color doing this type of work in a place like this. where I'm really proud to be part of such a diverse group of kids speaking here today. And I just wanted to say that part of my success in the Dominican Republic is that I look Dominican and that I speak Spanish. Now, this isn't meant to discourage white kids. If you're white and you do this kind of international work, I'm sure you know navigating these complexities comes with the territory. You've accepted the challenge, and you're out there doing it, and that's dope. What I want to do is remind my people of color, my brown people, my Spanish speakers, of color or not, that you are a huge asset in places like Verona. You have the ability to connect with these people using their own language, and that's not something to overlook or take for granted. Also, mentors. This obviously isn't new or innovative, but it is extremely important in cultivating innovations. I'm standing up here by myself, but I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have pursued the opportunities to do any of this if it wasn't for the guidance and support of my mentor, Dr. Jocelyn Whitmer. The first summer I was in Verona, Dr. Whitmer asked me to stay with the grad students to help distribute the survey. And I was like, me? Are you sure? We have 2 grad students. What can I do that they can't? She saw in me what I didn't see in myself. She saw the value that I added to the work, but more importantly, she helped me see it in myself. When the next year rolled around and she told me about university scholars, I was like, me? Undergraduate research? I don't know. I still didn't believe in myself, but now I think I'm starting to. And although before I met her, I was pretty proud of where I've gotten myself, I didn't imagine I was capable of much more. I know I thank you all the time, or at least I hope I do, but I can't thank you enough. Lastly, I'd like to point out that what I'm proposing isn't out of this world. Not all ideas need to be like that episode of SpongeBob, where a giant sea worm is threatening to destroy the city, and Patrick Star proposes that they just take the city and push it somewhere else. If you didn't get the joke, what I'm trying to say is innovations must be simple and attainable if we are to address pressing concerns. We need pie-in-the-sky ideas for the future, though, don't get me wrong, but let's not forget how sophisticated the technology that we often take for granted is, and how far the internet, GPS, and smartphones can take us. So, to wrap it up, think like landscape architect. Do your research and build partnerships. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't overlook that which only you can bring to the table. Be a mentor, believe in someone, and help them believe in themselves. And finally, think big, but stay grounded. Thank you.
All right, so we will now invite the judges to meet in the back to deliberate and really wrestle with that, because there were a lot of good innovations. Yeah, so take your time, and Karina will meet you in the back. Yep, right out those doors. Awesome. And so, while the judges engage in the difficult job of picking a winner, I want to extend well beyond this room and share the narratives of what students are doing all around the world. Our students. You've seen an aspect of the local impacts the Challenge 2050 project has here at the University of Florida. However, I want to illuminate the global impact the program makes and give the judges more time to deliberate, because we do know it's going to be a hard fight. That being said, in the summer of 2016, the Challenge 2050 project took an academic adventure, more or less, to Sao Paulo, Brazil, in order to learn about complex problems in large cities, and also to come up with creative, adaptive solutions to address them. This summer, we have the opportunity to do the same thing. Dr. Anna Noro and I, with the support of HM Close, will take a group of interdisciplinary students to Sao Paulo in July in order to experience the culture, to partner with policymakers and companies, and critically assess the problems that come with having nearly 22 million people in one city. Y'all, that's a lot of people. And so this experience is a non-traditional study abroad. And the goal is to help students cultivate their own capacity for critical thinking, adaptive leadership, and intercultural problem solving. And so we have a short visual, excuse me. Yeah, no? Okay, here we go. we have a short video for you that will give you a better understanding of what it looks like over in Brazil.
So the purpose of this trip was to immerse students in a different culture, language, and a whole different set of morals and values, and then connect them with industry professionals who actually work in the country to develop solutions to the problems that we're facing today.
I really like that in the Challenge 2050 project, it's interdisciplinary, so we have students from all walks of life, all different majors, different years. We had people that were 18 on the trip, and then we had like seniors who were able to like share their perspectives, and everybody had just as much value in the conversation as anybody else. I kind of had expectations about what was going on in Brazil from like an American point of view.
In Brazil, the changes that we have been talking about and the issues that are going to affect the world in years from now are already affecting them, and they're trying to deal with it with less resources, with less input than we have.
Meeting with the executives was really great because they gave us a deeper understanding of the business and culture in Brazil and how everything worked. You learned what their perspectives were about the issues that we face in Challenge 2050.
On this trip, we got to experience what the Brazilians call calor humano, which is human heat. And we experienced it the first day at the park when we saw the families interacting with each other, which transferred to us because we all got closer as a group and we started feeling that passion. Then the next week we went to the industry professionals and we could still sense that passion for people, that no matter the product that they're selling or the process that they're going through, they really value people. We're struggling with world hunger, we're struggling with poverty, we're struggling with health and sanitation. And these issues aren't things that we need to read about in textbooks and adapt our way of life in the future. This is stuff that people are facing right now. And I just wish that everyone knew that, because so many people, if they knew that something like this was going on and they saw the faces of what this looked like, they would be more inclined to act. And by spreading the word, you can just make a huge ripple effect.
You go spend time with people, and your passions get ignited by each other, and you find new and exciting ways to engage each other's passions to solve the world's problems. Then that becomes your contagious fire. And all of a sudden, we're solving the world's problems through developing authentic and meaningful relationships that allow us to be transparent with each other and collaborate with other people.
So many people are just going about their daily lives not knowing the issues and the problems that society is facing in their own city, in their own region, in their own state, in the country, in the world. These are the problems that are going on right now. Not in 20 years from now, not in 2050, but right now. San Pablo State University, we were learning about how they were growing potatoes in a field without pesticides, and they saw none of the diseases that was shown in Brazil during that time. No one's too young to create change.
And see the way the Challenge 2050 project affects the rest of the world, and how just looking at the relationships that I formed while on the trip through the project was really amazing, and it really showed me that like, relationships can change the world and change our perspectives on how we view the world. The students of today are the future.
So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what happens when we are able to take students out of the context of the classroom. That their hearts are softened and their minds are changed, and they're asking themselves, what can our hands actually do? So that's just one of the cool things that the Challenge 2050 project is able to contribute to. However, the international work of our students goes well beyond what takes place in Brazil. There have been many students who have gone through the program and are now doing amazing things. However, I'd like to tell you the narrative of two very special students who are doing amazing things in their local context. A dynamic student named Crystal Dixon. She happens to be the recipient of the 2017 OneWorld International Development Award, and she took our breath away on the OneWorld stage in 2015 as a Solution 6 speaker. Her idea was to create cooperatives aimed at financial reliability and food security in the informal sector of Kingston, Jamaica. Today, Crystal is a Peace Corps volunteer in Jamaica, working to implement change in the impoverished areas of the country. The second student I want to tell you about is 2017 Solution 6 speaker, Chris Vasquez. Chris's passion for Cuba led him to address the challenge of mitigating marabu, which is an invasive plant that can be converted to charcoal if done right. So Chris is the winner of the 2016 Davis Foundation Projects for Peace grant, and he started a nonprofit called Inspire Cuba. So this organization enhances the efficiency, reduces environmental impact, and increases economic viability with respect to the marabu to charcoal process. Through a specially designed kiln and partnerships inside of Cuba, the people of the island are achieving financial security, reliability, and environmental sustainability, only 90 miles away from Key West, which is amazing. Can we go ahead and give it up for these two people that are now we're going to go, not there. We're going to go to this really quick because we're going to go a little bit off script. So before the winner can be announced, there is another award recipient that we want to take a moment to recognize. The recipient of the Gatekeeper Award. This person holds open the way of knowledge, the way to knowledge, the way to personal development, and the way to meaningful contributions in our world. This individual is known all over campus and arguably all over the world for his powerful and passionate investment in the lives of students. Without him, this sharing of ideas would not have been possible. And we personally feel that we would all be very different people if we did not know him. His prodigious efforts with the Challenge 2050 project has made many dreams into realities and many ideas into innovations. So please join me in congratulating the 2018 Gatekeeper Award recipient, Dr. Tony Anzanoro. He didn't know. Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking you could click it. So, I see Karina, and that means, damas y caballeros, el tiempo está aquí. The time is here. We are about to announce the winner, so I'm going to invite all of Solution 6 2018 up, as well as the judgment panel, as well as Matt Stauschek, who will be announcing the award. Yes.
So this was, as you can imagine, an extremely hard process. I begged Tony not to have me do it this year, because I remember last year how difficult it was, and it is just unbelievable. So first of all, I'd like to thank the judges, Lori, Claudia, and Hal. So if we just get a round of applause. Before we announce the winner, I do think it is important to just do one more round of applause for everybody, because that was... And now the moment everybody's been waiting for, the winner of OneWorld 2018 and the grand prize check of $20.50 is Megan Landquin. Just an amazing night. We can't thank you enough. So appreciative that you're here to celebrate this. I would like to ask Sonia to close us out tonight. So, please.
Great, thank you. So now that we have to leave the auditorium, the festivities are just beginning. So in the foyer, we have a wine and desserts reception. So feel free to indulge in that. Thank you all so much on the behalf of the Challenge 2050 Project. Thank you for being here tonight. And go enjoy the reception. Yay!